Hello, Legionnaires, and welcome back to Legions of Miniatures. I'm Lander, and today I'm going to be giving a bit of an announcement, and then we'll be jumping into the tutorial. The reason that we're doing this tutorial is because we have decided to do an online 40k Crusade campaign using the 9th edition Crusade rules. Now, the way this is going to work is we're going to be playing on Roll20. This is a free software that anyone can use, and it's just a little fiddly because you have to format your own units. But we will be doing that, and it won't cause as much issue, I don't think. We've seen that, and we are aware of Tabletop Simulator. However, we know it is particularly fiddly, and not all of us are in a position to make the purchase of Tabletop Simulator for this, and we already have access to Roll20. We've already been using Roll20 as well for some of our games, so we're familiar with how to use it, and so we'll be sticking with that. It will, however, limit a three-dimensional element to the game, but we are fairly confident that we can make use of even the new terrain rules and all of that lovely, lovely stuff using the 9th edition format. So, without any further ado, we will jump now into this instructional video on how to make a Crusade army. Now, for this, you will need to have access to a Crusade roster. This is referred to as the Order of Battle. And if I bring us across now, an Order of Battle will look something like this. This is where we are going to record our army. Now, Order of Battle contains the information of the Crusade cards, or at least a summary of your Crusade cards, more like a contents. A Crusade card will look something like this. These are both available in the 9th edition rulebook, and you can print them out and photocopy them for your own personal use. Alternatively, I have copied them over in approximation here. The only difference is some slight formatting. I've tried to keep the exact other layouts. There's just some gaps that aren't present. But you can make a copy of this document, which will be linked in the description below, and you can print that out and use that if you would prefer. I believe this will be a bit easier to get access to than trying to heft this thing. Up into place over a printer. So, how should you start with this? Well, the first thing that you'll need to know is your Crusade faction. Crusade factions are broken down into the predominant forces that exist in the galaxy and interact with each other. These include the Imperium, Chaos, the Eldari, Orcs, Necrons, Tau Empire, and the Tyranids. We're not going down to an individual army level here, apart from in the cases of some of the Xenos factions. We are looking instead at the kind of groups that would come together and go and try and achieve a mission with a common goal. Now, of course, this breaks down a little bit maybe with if you're wanting to play a Craft World Eldari faction. Maybe you wouldn't want to include an awful lot of Drukhari. However, if you were playing Harlequin faction, and maybe you're dipping into a little bit of the Eldari and the Drukhari in order to bolster your lines, that would be, well within your rights, and especially so if you're doing a need army. Anyhow, your first thing to do will be to fill in your Crusade faction. You'll want to fill in your player name. This may not be necessary if you're playing among friends. However, if you are, say, in a situation where you have an organizer readying this campaign, it may be useful for them to vet the Crusade order of battles before and after matches, just to make sure that everything is in order, and in which case you'll want to get your order of battle back, so put your name on it. Your Crusade force name, this can be as simple as Necrons, if you aren't particularly imaginative or you just want to get some games done with a system that advances your forces. However, now is the awesome time to decide exactly who are you playing as. All armies will begin with 5 of 5 requisition points. One may never go above 5 requisition points, and these may be used to purchase upgrades to your list. Some examples of this upgrades are increasing your supply limit by 5 power level, which is approximately 100 points, if you wish to use points values instead of power level. So let's put a note of that here. 20 PTS equals 1 PL. Now, some organisers may wish to use power level, as the rules are written. However, others may wish to use points. Points, I think, are a better means because they are more commonly and more frequently updated to try and maintain a balance in the game system. Power level are much stronger for some armies and much weaker for other armies. Armies without upgrades may have a more accurate power level. However, armies with a lot of upgrades may have a much less accurate power level, and it will be easy enough for you to skew your force to appear to be about the same number of points as the foe, but with the upgrades that you have provided, be drastically stronger than it has any right to be. We've then got access to our battle tally here. This will tell us how many battles our army has fought. Our battles won will tell us how many of those battles we have been victorious in. And our supply used is simply the sum of this, of this power rating column here. Crusade points are accrued as units gain upgrades. As they gain upgrades, they will add on extra powers that aren't otherwise represented in their power rating or their points values. The Crusade points account for this, in part. You will take Crusade points into consideration when preparing your armies for the battle. Crusade cards. This is another opportunity to give your units fascinating and exciting names. So rather than simply putting down a overlord for your Necron forces, perhaps you'll want to look into exactly who they are. And here's one that I prepared earlier. As we can see over on the right hand side here, as you can see, I've gone ahead and I've given my Crusade force an interesting name. It is Joratek's Tomb Legion. It belongs to the Necrons and it is played by I, who is me, who is Lander. I have not fought any battles with this army yet, and neither have I won any. However, perhaps I should just go ahead and put in 100%. Because that is my plan. Win all my battles and lose none of them. I have already gone ahead and spent all 5 of my requisition points, and I'll talk you through exactly what those are in a moment. For this, we have chosen to use points for the reasons I described just prior. And so, rather than starting at a power level limit of 50, we start at a points limit of 1000. You may not exceed the points limit in any regard whatsoever. Even 1 point over is too many points over. In the event that you need to go over the limit, you may increase the number of points you have access to by spending 1 requisition. This will increase the power level of your army by 5, putting you from a starting value of 50 to 55, or if you are already at 55, to 65, etc. This equates to approximately 100 point price value increase. As you can see below the 20 points per power level notification, I have placed plus 300 points. I have spent 3 requisition, increasing my supply limit from 1000 points to 1300. Supply used indicates how many points I have spent on my army, or power level if you are using power level. Presently I have spent 1270 points. Although I have 30 points left to spend, I have chosen not to spend them. Perhaps once I have played my next game and gained 1 requisition for doing so, I will increase by another 100 points and have access then to the opportunity to add a new unit to my army. If we then look at my Crusade cards, we can see that I have included an Overlord, a Cryptek, a Royal Warden, all as HQ choices. I have then included 2 units of Necron Warriors and a unit of Immortals equipped with Tesla carbines. These units here are all troop choices. I am maintaining a standard setup for these forces, because when it comes to choosing units from this list to use in a battle, it must fit into one of the normal matched play detachments. For example, the patrol detachment must have one HQ choice and at least one troops choice with a maximum of 3. If we go ahead and look at the battalion, it must have 2 HQ choices and 3 troop choices. If we look at the brigade detachment, our requirements become a lot larger. My goal here is to enable me to, at any time, bring at least a patrol detachment, but probably a battalion detachment. And therefore I have at least 2 HQs and at least 3 troop choices. Beyond that, I have brought a Doomsday Arc, which will fill out one of the heavy support choices. I have brought a unit of Scorpec Destroyers from the new Indomitus box. These fill out an Elite's choice. And I have brought a unit of Destroyers. These will fill out a Fast Attack choice. Altogether, this force will not exceed my planned detachment should I wish to bring a 1,270 point army. However, it will be easy enough for me to decrease its size down by choosing only certain units when it comes to choosing my battlefield. As we can see, my Overlord Nemesisser Juratek has got 2 Crusade points. This is because I have spent 1 requisition to give him a Warlord trait. I have also spent 1 requisition to give him a relic. Regardless of which battle he goes into and whether or not he is the Warlord, he will now have access to a relic and a Warlord trait. As far as I can understand, this is in addition to the normal relic and Warlord trait that you gain at the start of a battle. The Warlord trait goes to the Warlord, and the relic goes to any character that does not already have a relic. A Warlord trait may never be given to a unit that has already got a Warlord trait. My Cryptek has a Crusade points of 1. This is because, again, I have given him a relic. There are not just relics that you would find in your codex. Instead, there are also relics found in the Crusade section of the rules. These are called Crusade Relics and are generic. There are even stronger relics available, however they cost more requisition to obtain and will increase the Crusade points value to obtain. Of the unit that obtains them. This shows a fully filled out, at least for the start, order of battle, save the Crusade goals, information and notable victories. We will go over that briefly. When it comes down to the Crusade cards, every unit must have its own Crusade card. This is an opportunity to track its experience as it levels up and becomes more efficient. It is a means to track its ability to, or its successes over the course of battles. And it will also allow you to track its rank. Is it bloodied, fresh, battle-hardened, heroic, or, may I say, legendary? It will also allow you to track the battle honours and battle scars of units. Units that perform exceptionally well in a combat will earn experience, and as they level up they will gain battle honours, and these will allow them to become an even more devastating force in battle. On the other hand, battle scars occur when a unit is defeated in combat and suffers some kind of negative effect. Perhaps they were badly hurt and now are facing issues with their movement, as many of their legs were damaged in an explosion. These will cause a dynamic nature to your army over the course of many battles. Units that are perhaps great initially are given the opportunity to become greater, or perhaps suffer as the enemy focuses them down and ensures that for the battles to come they will be a weaker foe. Each of your units should be filled in with their unit name. This lines up with how it is called on the unit card section in your order of battle. Their battlefield role determines whether they are HQ, troops, elites, fast attack, dedicated transport, flyers, heavy support, or Lord of War. They could even designate if it is a structure, as some armies may wish to bring fortification networks alongside their armies. This will become more common as 9th edition progresses, and more factions gain unique scenery pieces, as Necrons and Space Marines have been shown to do so. We then must choose what Crusade faction it belongs to. This should be the same throughout your entire Crusade. This is Necrons. For me, for you it may be Imperium, or Eldari, or Orcs, Chaos, as I have earlier mentioned. You must then choose a selectable keyword. Almost all units will have a selectable keyword. The only units that won't are ones that are dedicated to an individual, say, chapter, dynasty, legion, battalion, etc. In the case of my army, I have chosen to make sure that all of my units are in the Nihilak dynasty. This will ensure that any auras that they have will work with each other. Additionally, Nihilak is, in general, the most useful dynasty for what I hope to do with my Necrons. If I desired, say, to have my melee Skorpek destroyers be part of the Novok dynasty to give them benefits in melee, then if I wished to take them in a battle, I would have to pay for an auxiliary detachment, unless I had enough to, say, fill out a patrol detachment. From here, we must now note the unit type. If we have given our unit a fancy name, then the unit type is simply what that unit is normally. For example here, Osarsef is my Cryptek, therefore his unit type is Cryptek. I then fill out what equipment he has been given, Staff of Light and Chronometron in this case. If you are playing with power level, the most acceptable thing to do, or at least the most commonly accepted method of play, is to do what is referred to as WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. In this event, if your Cryptek is stood there in a Canoptic Cloak, he does not have a Chronometron. He has a Canoptic Cloak. This way, your opponent will be able to look at your army and easily evaluate it. Power level is there to facilitate easier play. After this, one must choose Psychic Powers. You cannot change your Psychic Powers between battles. Well, you can, but you must spend Requisition to do so. Warlord traits must be made note of, and relics must be made note of. Why it is listed as Warlord traits plural and relics plural is a mystery to me, as a unit may only have one Warlord trait or one relic at a given time. There is a section as well on the right there for other upgrades and selectable abilities. I personally do not know of a situation where this would come up. However, it is present if you need it. Your power rating for the unit is available just in the top right hand corner. Again, I have listed this as points. For my system, we'll be using points. The experience points section is presently blank. We will fill this in after every battle, increasing the number of points of experience that my units have. The Crusade points is relevant only here because my Cryptek has been given a Veil of Darkness relic by using Requisition to purchase him a relic. It is now that I realise, actually, that I have spent 2 Crusade points on my Overlord and 1 on my Cryptek, but then I have spent 3 on increasing the points level of my army. This would not be allowed. I only have access to 5 Requisition, and that would cost 6 in total. Therefore here, I will just go ahead and remove the Veil of Darkness from my Cryptek for sake of ease. Let this be a message. Always proofread your documents. I then have filled in the profile for my other units, as you can see here. This document contains 21 pages. That is for your order of battle here, which lists 20 units. There is nothing I can find in writing that tells you that you are limited to 20 units. I believe this to be a soft limit for the sake of the document. There are the further 20 pages beyond this first. Each include a Crusade card template that you can use to fill in this roster. If you are printing it out, therefore, I highly recommend you only print out 2 pages rather than the full lot, as you may not even need to go all the way to the full 20 cards. In the event that 2 armies come to battle one another, and one army has more Crusade points than the other, this will create a slight imbalance that is not represented in the points. To correct for this, take the Crusade totals of the two battle-forged armies. This is to say, not the Crusade point totals of the whole Crusade, but only the armies being deployed. Say, my army has a Crusade points of 7, and I battle Callum, who has a Crusade points of 4 in his army. The difference here is 3. We must now use this to calculate a correction to help balance the battle. We half the number of points. From 3 goes to 1.5, and now we round up to 2. Callum's army will now gain 2 command points at the start of the battle to assist him in this monumental task of fighting these veteran foes. Finally, the Crusade Goals, Information and Notable Victories is a small section for you to make notes of your own desire. Perhaps you have a personal goal with your crusade. Maybe you are playing a force of witch hunters of the Imperium, and your personal goal is to ensure that every enemy chaos character has some form of battle scar, to teach them the wrath of the Imperium. Or perhaps you are simply an orc, and your desire is to ensure that you have won at least 3 battles against every other competitor. These aren't necessarily hard win goals, and there is not, strictly speaking, a victory condition for a crusade. One may be determined by the crusade host. However, that should not deter you from telling your own stories. One might desire a very particular goal going into the crusade, or perhaps you create an enemy along the way. A particular orc warboss perhaps slays all of your characters and is responsible for maybe too much carnage. You can then set up a, say, nemesis, and make a note of that here. This is simply a section for making notes, and so make notes in it you shall. With this, it brings us now to the end of this tutorial. This will not go into how to set up a crusade mission. That will be achieved at one of the earlier missions that we play using the crusade system. So, to summarize, you must first determine your faction. You must name your crusade, and you must build an army worth 50 power level, or 1000 points if that is what you are using. You have 5 requisition to spend. You will be given 1 requisition at the end of every battle, and you may not ever have more than 5 requisition. So in army creation, you will almost certainly want to spend 1 of your requisitions. You will need to keep track of your total points of your crusade, and the points of the units included in your crusade. You will need to keep note as well of crusade points. These are noted in the requisition purchases that you make. You will need to fill out crusade cards for every unit in your crusade. And you will need to ensure that you can at least bring a battle-forged army to any level of play. With this concludes this tutorial, and I will end my serious staring longingly into the camera. Because I'll be honest, it was a little bit awkward, and really, with the light right there, starting to blind my eyes a bit. So, I hope this has been an informative video for you. Like this video if you have enjoyed it, dislike it if you think it was an absolutely terrible tutorial. I hope it has been useful at the very least. Then, please go ahead and hit a subscribe. You wouldn't want to miss out on the stories to be told between Astra Militarum, Adeptus Mechanicus, Orcs, and Necrons. We invite you to join us. We will be recording videos every Wednesday and Sunday. I have no idea how long they will take to edit. Probably much longer than I suspect, so I shan't give a note here of when they will be expected to be out, but I will hope to fall into a bit of a rhythm and keep them coming out fairly regularly. Anyway, please go ahead, like, subscribe, leave a comment below, especially leave a comment below. Any criticism that you can give us is much appreciated. And with that, thank you for watching, and we will see you next time, Legionnaires.